Welcome back, Brother Shabir. So, we stated earlier that marriage is supposed to be compassion and mercy and for tranquility. However, as we discussed, problems do arise. So, can you tell us some of the problems that are facing the institution of marriage in Canada today?
Yes, we can see that to a large extent the number of divorces are on the rise, and not only the number but percentage-wise as well. It seems that the chances of marriages succeeding are in fact dwindling over time. So we should pay attention to what might be the causes of this failure in marriages to last. It seems that one of the issues is individualism, where the idea is promoted continuously that you just be the person that you want to be, do the things you want to do. And that is in contrast to the ideas of self-sacrifice, of contentment, and of being of service to others. In a marriage, really, one has to compromise. One has to be willing to give and take. One cannot all have everything one's own way. Otherwise, the way to have that is not to get married at all. But getting married means that one is now entering into a relationship of sharing and of caring, of giving. And unless one keeps that perspective in mind, then the marriages will continue to be ruined. In the marriage, one has to give and not always be taking. One has to get rid of this idea of individualism, because now one is not for an individual, for one's own self, but one is for the family. Mm-hmm. So there has to be the idea of self-sacrifice. We sacrifice some of the things we love and some of the things we'd like to do for the sake of the cohesion of the family. And there has to be contentment in the sense that the spouse you're married to may look glamorous and attractive for a while, but after some time a person may become tired of this being with the same person. The same physical attractiveness will not be seen to be there anymore. But one has to develop a close spiritual attachment with the other person, so that together they become bonded as one, mm-hmm. as a unit that is inseparable. Mm-hmm. And that can only come with contentment. One has to have the sense that, yeah, this is the spouse I have, and I'll be happy with this spouse no matter what. Mm-hmm. Of course, all of this is said within reason. There is still a possibility of divorce allowed within the Islamic Sharia, but it is said to be one of the most disliked things of all of those things that God has permitted. So by all means possible and reasonable, we should try to make our marriages work.
Absolutely. I was recently reading the cover story for July's Time magazine, and it stated that one of the problems facing marriage actually is individuals are becoming less and less concerned with the notion of obligation and sacrifice, as you stated, and more on romance and happiness, as in like more of a business transaction. What am I getting out of it? So can you discuss a little bit about this notion of like this delusional notion of just romance and bed of roses and so forth?
Yes, you see, there is a certain degree to which people may fall in love and get married, but such marriages may not necessarily last, because the love may not necessarily last. People may find physical attraction to be very strong initially, but as people get older, for example, other demands of life and other pressures of situations may actually come to weigh much stronger mm-hmm. Than the initial love that people had for each other. In Islam, we stress not that people should fall in love and get married, but that people should get married to a person that they find to be compatible, people who share their goals and aspirations in life, who are willing to make the commitment to live together and to pursue those goals and aspirations together, so mm-hmm. that in successes and failures, through thick and thin, in good times and bad times, we remain together mm-hmm. as one united family pursuing the same goal. And of course, even these goals may change over time, but once a person enters into the marriage, and not for the sake of this physical attraction or the sort of comfort we feel with the other and emotional support we find, but for the real purpose that we are entering into a marriage to raise a family together, to have kids that we will produce as decent citizens to serve the world, then these larger goals than just simply one's personal satisfaction will continue to loom large in the relationship and will continue to keep the relationship steady and with a purpose and direction.
Absolutely. So how much does it matter, the fact that the institution of marriage is failing for society? What are the costs of this failure?
Well, the cost that is immediately felt by the individuals in the marriage is a lot of broken hearts and a lot of frustration and even depression. To deal with the fallout from a marriage is even more difficult for the kids that may be involved in such a marriage. And of course that tells on society on the whole. If we have, for example, a rise in delinquency among the youth, part of that is creditable to the breakup of the stable family relationships. So the cost to society is immeasurable. We can, of course, curb this problem by reintroducing and reinforcing faith, which is a very strong motivator in keeping marriages together. There are some situations when faith can in fact come in the way as well, but mostly the family that prays together stays together. There is a sort of spiritual bond that is nurtured within the family when people do things together for the pleasure of God. So the focus on the individual is removed, and we have the higher purpose of now serving all of us together, our Creator God. Moreover, many of the things that challenge marriages will actually be avoided. For example, infidelity, adultery, pornography, men spending a great deal of time on the internet and on chat lines, wasting their time to begin with, even if they were talking about something good, but more than this, getting into things that are displeasing to God and are haram for Muslims, and therefore would be avoided by those who are in fact trying their best to practice the faith.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay.
As I stated earlier, we have a special report. So up next, we will have a special report by our new Let the Quran Speak correspondent, Sarah Darsha, who recently visited a Muslim Fest, which is like an annual Muslim celebration held in Mississauga, often, celebrating Muslim art and entertainment. So without further ado, next will be the special report.